Punisher, here for your fight. Hey, victory in sight. Hug your kids good night. Yeah. We show up steady when the headlines fade. Mic on, truth on, never afraid. Hands to the sky when the drums hit hard. We stand together, we hold that guard. Hear that bass like a warning sign. Hands up high, then we cross the line. And the Punisher, here for your fight. Hey, victory in sight. Hug your kids good night. Tiff and the Punisher, here for your fight. Hey, victory in sight. Hug your kids good night. One voice turns to 1,000 strong. Sing it back when they say we're wrong. No more fear, no more backseat. Stop that crowd to
Tiff and the Punisher, they won't back down. Fight for the children in every town. They are taking our kids every day. A child a minute, no one has a thing to say. For those who have been isolated, don't be worried, you have a voice today. So listen up everyone, here is the story. Child Protective Services is real. CPS is what they call it. They want our kids because it fills a lot of people's wallet. We all think it won't be us. We say when they come we will be so tough. It all sounds good when there's no one to take them. But when they come, your voice gets to breaking. Stay calm, step away. CPS ain't taking no one today. We are educated. Stay calm, step away. CPS, you need to leave. I know the tricks up your sleeves. You can't do what you're trying to do. We have done our homework. Don't do a damn thing without a warrant. You no longer will steal our kids this way. Tiff and the Punisher have come for the calling. They are giving us the CPS warning. Their voice is loud and clear. We stop losing our kids this year. Tiff wants to fight the entire planet. She is tired of our kids being taken, God damn it. She's been fighting CPS for 30 years, bringing children home from this disgusting mess. The Punisher is screaming out loud, abolish CPS and tear it down. I want all our kids to come back. Look at all those kids, pictures held up like thin tags. Together we are stronger than we need. We will tear down CPS with high speed. We will do so much being together. Birds of a feather flock together. So watch out CPS, here we come. Picking you one by one. We promise to bring back the family and prosecute the caseworkers unhandily. So give us back the kids you have taken. Tiff and the Punisher sending you all on a vacation. The one with bars in the windows and the only games you play are old Nintendos. Corruption in courts, here we come. We won't stop until it's done. You judges need to learn what you stand for. This is Tiff and The Punisher warrior. Cry out to all of you, my piece of boy, for a cause that many don't care. All children are being stolen way too often. So CPS, we plan on doing the stopping. Stop it.
Hey, Tiff.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine for a man with his house burnt down. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm tired. Didn't get much sleep last night.
Yep. That's what happens when you have children's.
Yeah.
Who we got here? Erica. Oh, Tommy Jean Wiley. Erica's in the house. Chris Nicole's in the house. Nice. Oh, I don't even know what FMF is, but I like it. Lewis and Susie are here. We got a packed house right now. Where's
All
our
right. Hey, Joe.
Tommy Jean Wiley? Oh, perfect. Let's get you in here someday this week then. Maybe tomorrow. If they want to come in. You seeing that, Tiff?
Who is it?
I'll put it right across the screen. She's ready to share her story on the Catahoula Parish and the injustices.
Okay.
Classics here. Wow, we got a whole house full here. Who else we got? We got one and only Karma's here. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, where have you been? Where have you been? Becca's here. Wow, we got a whole bunch of people here tonight. This is great.
Becca.
No, because I didn't see you, asshole. You got to give it to her. You got to give Becca a little bit, you know. Tammy's here. She's praying. Perfect. Good stuff. Good stuff. We'll let the blow your mind. Corruption and cover-ups. Yeah, they are too. Everything. You know what? Does it ever surprise you anymore what people say to you?
Me?
Yeah. Yes, you. You, the other one on the show with us.
Well,
hello,
yes,
Tim. Are you there? Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, because we're in 2026. This shit should still not be happening. And then no, because they just keep putting Band-Aids over the problems and they're not fixing anything. They're not tearing it down and rebuilding it. So
we don't need to rebuild it. You know that, and I know that. We don't need to rebuild it because there is what could you even say to somebody in this? And imagine that you say this. There's a problem that less than 2% of this country has, and we are going to give it a budget the size of our military. But this problem only affects less than 2% of the people in this country. What would you say about that? Like, you'd just be like, this is asinine, right? Trillions.
right, like that's crazy.
Right.
We need to be taking that money, helping these families, getting our homeless in homes, taking care of our vets, and feeding people.
Yeah.
And housing people. Come on now. We have better things to do with money than putting them with babysitters through the state.
Yeah, this is just ridiculous. This is money that's just being wasted on nobody. On rent, on rental cars, on gas, on all of this bullshit that we don't need to have. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. We don't need to rebuild it. We need to get rid of it. And this country will take care of itself because you know what? When a little kid was getting beaten in the old days, they either had it coming because their parents thought so, or if their parents did something out of line like that, guess what? The dads in the neighborhood got together and that was never a problem again, was it? You know? People talk about the old times of all of this. We didn't have this stuff when the mafia was running the streets, when, you know, like when there was organized crime and things like that. You didn't have kids being out of line like this, you know, like because it was so much respect on your parents and everything that you didn't dare to go out and be You know, and that's where this line draws too, is like there's some sort of a switch happened after our generation. Is like, when did the respect for the parent die out? I would have never dreamt of saying, let me go to the school and tell them that I don't have a cell phone and call CPS on my parents. Are you shitting me? I'd have been scared to death when my parents been right there to pull my ass out of school and beat my ass. You know, like that was it. You had that fear about it. And it wasn't that they were getting beaten, your eyes were getting black and blue and all that stuff. But if you did wrong, you were hit. You deserved it.
Not to change the subject, but did you listen to the arguments today in the Supreme Court?
I certainly didn't. Why don't you enlighten us?
Well, it was a lot. But I will tell you, both sides had good arguments. But the problem the Trump administration is going to have is you can't change the Constitution without a constitutional convention. And the Constitution is very clear. All persons born or nationalized are United States citizens. I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle. I do not believe that it's going to get overturned, but I didn't think they would overturn Roe v. Wade. So I will be surprised if my cat slaps me as he's walking on me. If they overturn it, because the Constitution is very clear about who is a citizen and who is not a citizen. So I looked up this word that they kept using. Oh crap, I can't even remember it. But anyway, it means like I live here, my residence is here, but I go somewhere else for a little while, and then I come back. Exile, maybe.
Oh, jail?
No, not jail. Like you just go somewhere else.
Shapeshifter.
No, the word was dexile.
Oh, domicile?
Yeah, that.
Domicile.
So I had to look it up because I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So their biggest thing is, the Trump administration's biggest thing is, if a child is born here and then they leave, they have an American birth certificate, which means they're entitled to Social Security, they're entitled to benefits, they're entitled to this, they're entitled to that, right?
Right.
And they're even calling these babies that are here for like vacations, they're calling them anchor babies and tourism babies.
Yeah. Those aren't so bad though.
Well, about 26,000, they said, are born in the United States every day. But how many women, and well, American women, would really want to get on a plane 9 months pregnant? You're already uncomfortable.
Don't sit next to me, because I am not the one that's going to be helping you. I am going to get up and run as far away from you as I am. If that cork pops, man, you're in deep shit if I'm sitting next to you, because I want nothing to do with it.
Anyway, you're so funny. But then the other side had a good argument.
That's all. You see in a plane in line and you're 9 months pregnant, you better hope that you don't sit next to me.
And then the ACLU is actually taking the case. And it was the head of the ACLU. And she said, well, she made a good point. This does not include like the people that come over here and we go over to their country, the diplomats. It doesn't include diplomats. And it's not about the parents. It's about the child, right? So the nation was built, that was said, according to her, that the children can't pay for their parents' sins. So why are we deporting children that are born here, that have legal status here? So I don't know. It's going to be hard, but I'm telling you, the hardest thing for all of these judges to get past is the Constitution is very clear about who's a citizen. One breath here on this land, you're an American citizen.
Yeah.
What it says.
And domicile is your permanent home.
There you go.
Domicile is your permanent home, and then if you have another home, that's your temporary residence or whatever. But as long as they're claiming that their domicile is the United States, and that's it.
Well, I did hear Clarence Thomas ask the Trump attorney, because I guess Dred Scott case is very, very hot in this issue.
Yeah.
And there was another one. He was a Chinese American. Anyway, those two cases are like the foundation, right? So he asked him to explain the difference, because the Supreme Court has already ruled on this, right? In like 1800s, and said that people that are born here are American citizens, period. So he kept using that word, the Dexile word.
Domicile?
Yeah, that. But he really didn't explain what he was asked. So I'm telling you, I know there's 9 of them. They only need 5, I think, to overturn it.
So you're talking about, so people understand what you're talking about. You're talking about the Supreme Court, that they're reviewing Trump's executive order, right?
Well, an executive order doesn't supersede the Constitution, and that's what they said.
Right, but that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Birthright citizenships for children of undocumented immigrants.
Correct.
Okay.
But it does more than that, right? So it will make all of our birth certificates irrelevant, right? Because now we would have to prove that we're citizens just because we lived here for 50 years. And that's what the ACLU was saying, you know. If they own a home and they have a business or they have kids and they've lived here X amount of years, they're residents. And the other guy was like, no, they're not. Well, who's to say that? But anyway, they said they'll have their ruling in June, the end of June or the beginning of July. But like I said, both arguments were very compelling. The problem they're going to have to get past, because they are supposed to rule on the Constitution. That is their job. I don't know how they're going to get past all persons born or nationalized are United States citizens. It's right in the Constitution. And the Constitution is very clear. It cannot be construed to read any way other than it is written.
That's why they wrote it that way.
Right.
That's why they did what they did. So every person could understand what everything meant and is said for. Whether educated or not, you could still be able to read, and you understood what these things were.
And then it was like, well, if it doesn't get overturned, or if it does get overturned, she said, so we have children being born here that's not affiliated with any state, no matter where they're born, right? So what is the hospital to do? How are they supposed to give out birth certificates? How are they supposed to put citizen, non-citizen? What are they supposed to do? How is the federal government supposed to do census? And they had a whole list of shit, which is all true. Like, just think, if they overturn this and a baby is born, who can prove they're citizens?
Well, they're going to be born in the hospital in the United States, so they'll be citizens.
If it's overturned, that is not true.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So they had a lot of questions, because I'm telling you, I think they're leaning towards not doing it because they know it's going to create a lot of chaos.
Well, either way, this is bad, because one, they're going to start challenging every executive order.
Well, they can't, because one of the problems with that executive order, and I knew from the minute it was signed, the reason he did do that is to get it in the Supreme Court. That's the only reason he signed that order, because he wanted it challenged. So even an executive order does not become law unless it has specific terms, like within 60 days of this being signed or 90 days. Normally it takes 2 years anyway. So the one thing that an executive order does not do, it does not trump the Constitution of the United States, period.
Right.
And that's what they said today. But he knew once he signed that, all the legal people were going to come out and file this petition. Whether the courts were going to pick it up or not, they didn't know, but it did. It got heard today, and it was like a 4-hour hearing. And again, both parties, good, good arguments. The problem that the Supreme Court's going to have, if they do it correctly, is the Constitution states that it cannot be construed to mean anything other than what it says.
Do you think this is leading down some sort of an avenue to end terminating parental rights and stuff?
Well, here's where I was thinking. If they do overturn it, guess who has jurisdiction over these children?
Who?
No one. Not the state and not the federal government. No one has jurisdiction over these children. Nobody.
So if it's overturned, then you would get your kids back, most likely. They'd have to.
I don't know, but that's what they said. Because it says, not only if you're born here or nationalized, you are now under the jurisdiction thereof and of the state you reside.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is a setup. I feel like this is a setup. This isn't about this at all. This is a setup to do something somehow, some bigger, broader picture, maybe.
Well, I will tell you that if it gets overturned, nobody can be touching any more kids because nobody's got jurisdiction over them. Not the federal government and not the state. Not even the courts.
So, which way do we need this to go as parents?
Well, that's a catch-22 because it would be nice if they didn't have jurisdiction. But then you're not covered by the Constitution. So if we keep it the way it is now, we still have constitutional rights. Because if you're not considered a citizen of the United States, you are not entitled to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights protections. You're not. The only thing that people that are not supposed to be here have coverage is under the 14th Amendment, and that's the Due Process Clause. That's it, and that's all.
Jesus.
So it's a catch-22. What do you do?
I mean, if we want our kids back, right? That's, it is a catch-22. Because I don't know. I mean, if you want to see because I can just see the light, I can see the writing on the wall now for this. Before I was like, what? This is not anything. But now I'm starting to look at it, and you just saying that made a little light bulb go off in my head. Is this a predecessor for things to come about the rights of our children, and where do they stand? Where do children stand with their own rights, and how do they stand as citizens of the United States? Because as it goes in courts now, our kids don't have rights when they're in family court. They're just shuffled off as whatever they say doesn't matter until they're 14 or 15.
But that's not true. That's not true.
Well,
because
listen right now.
But that's wrong.
Of course it is. That's what I'm saying.
Right,
So
but they do have rights, and people need to understand that. And this is another thing that I think that why they're trying to overturn the 14th Amendment on, and it's only on that. It's nothing else in the 14th Amendment. What it is okay. So I don't know if people know, but the United States is the only country that does not recognize "quote unquote" children's rights. But here's the other thing. We don't need to recognize them because we have a constitution that recognizes everybody's rights. Child, hell, animals, people. You know what I'm saying? So kids do have rights. And I found this out when that bitch told me that parents didn't have no rights when CPS got involved. I called somebody that I knew and they were like, well, that's not true. First of all, they do have rights. The only difference is the parents are the trustees of the children's rights. They are the people that speak on behalf of the children, right? The parents are, not the state. So
Right.
he was like, she's wrong. So then I called a lawyer and they were like, who the hell told you that? And I told him and they were like, no, she's wrong. Everybody that's born here, right? We went back to the 14th Amendment. Everybody born and or nationalized all fall under the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. So we don't need per se for anybody to give us our children's rights because they have the same rights as we do.
But they don't recognize them. Like, where's our kids are being detained. Where's their right to a bail, for instance? They can't get bailed out. They're getting taken and detained.
And I understand that. And that's why we need.
We've committed, supposedly. So how does that make sense?
Well, listen, I ordered this DVD. I don't have it in here right now, but it's on the Constitution. And they talked about habeas corpus.
Uh-huh.
And the most interesting piece of that movie or documentary, whatever it was that I bought, was on that. And it says the government is not allowed to detain anyone for more than 72 hours. So that's where the 72 hours come in play, right? And if they don't release them after that or charge them or whatever they're going to do, then the writ of habeas corpus comes into play. And it's the most powerful tool that we have in the legal system. And I said, oh, really? Start filing the habeas corpus. Produce the body. And that's what it means. Produce the body.
Yeah.
That can never be suspended.
But then there's been the arguments that say that you can't use the habeas corpus in family courts because it's saying that it needs to be in an institution. That's what the argument said.
No. That's why you don't file it in the bullshit family courts, because they're not courts, Darren. Stop calling them courts. I do it too. They're administrative hearings. They're not courts.
No, I know. You're right. We all know that that's the truth, except for they don't seem to know that.
Well, Darren, you can't tell somebody who believes themselves to be a judge in a courtroom with a gavel and a little bit of power in a black robe that they're not a real judge. They're an administrative judge.
Right.
And this isn't a courtroom. This is an administrative hearing. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that.
No.
Because of the illusion and the perception.
Right. They're bad. They're the top of the elite walking down that hallway in that courthouse. They are the creme de la creme. They're not going to give up that power.
Fuck no.
Nope. But guess who really wants their power? Our man is here.
Okay.
Let's bring him in. My button. It works. Dr. J.
Hey, how you guys doing?
How you doing?
Hear you and see you now. So
good to go.
All right. Perfect.
Just getting some exercise, walking down the highway a little bit and jogging. So
yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do, especially in these times. So
pragmatic, I guess, huh?
That's right. Where were we at?
Yeah, I meant to ask you the same question a moment ago, I guess, and I forgot to. I do not recall where I lost service. I had to go find a Wi-Fi thing tonight and some laundromat, so we're good to go for a minute, I think. I did send some really rather long email over today, and I'm not sure if Tiffany had read it or not, but it kind of goes into a whole lot more detail than I have verbally. But it does spell out like a sort of a systematic effect, I guess, in a way.
Okay.
And part of me definitely seems to feel as if there's some bias involved, being the father, a male. But I also feel as if there's some bias involved because I did successfully get my children out of foster care in 2018 over to 19. And it's been mentioned a few times by some DSS agents up this way, where they try and rib you a little bit and they ask you, well, how did you do it? Like, nobody does that. And I just did it by playing their game, I guess, by legal standard, perhaps. I proved the fact that there was no injury. And oddly enough, back in that case, also the court-appointed lawyers, out of 6 appeals, 5 of them went unsigned. I was able to successfully get the children out based upon 1 appeal by my own handwriting, meaning. So it definitely reached a level of corruption where you have lawyers that are like, 25 years experienced, and they consecutively forget to sign appeals on foster care. So there's some underlying anger, I feel, that kind of comes back my way. And I think that's why I've kind of endured, I don't know, perhaps the word I'm looking for is kind of like the death sentence, so to speak. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
in my opinion, and what I've learned here. Yeah, well, what I've learned here, again, and I've mentioned it a few times, but I learned it very adequately in 2018, is that if DSS does not want you to go homeless, you do not go homeless.
Right.
They have funding, they have community connections, they have all sorts of things in their bag of tricks. And especially when there are children in said home, I believe that would go against the fundamental principle of their charter. So it's kind of like it's definitively personal on this level, I feel, because I can say for surety that this is the outcome that they wanted for the moment. And again, it just goes to show that basically, if you present yourself with a addiction, a substance abuse problem, anything like that, you attend some classes, and 6 months later they will give you a home. Mm-hmm. If you actually try and assert the fact that you would prefer to work to support your children, they go out of the way to pretty much smile at you, but at the same time, there's a dagger in your back each time you turn around. And I believe from the last thing I heard from you guys prior to me joining into the conversation, law was what you were describing. The judges that basically kind of sit up there in a uniform and outfit, and they think there's something and they're really not. That is a very big component of the family court system. And it's almost like you have to agree to their terms pretty much, but at the same time, you're agreeing to a closed courtroom. You're agreeing to just a lot of slander and libel.
Yeah. And
that has meaning to them, but not to you immediately. Later on, it will have meaning to you because these forms that they put it on enrichment, or that looks good for the Health and Human Services. So really kind of doing your own homework best of your ability and trying to figure out will not, because there's no way to be right now. Like you cannot, it's impossible. The courts, they do not accept evidence. They accept opinion. And something a lot of people don't really understand is that these courts and the family system are actually designed in the Soviet system of courts. That's the 51 percentile rule, meaning show me the man and I'll show you the crime. So before they have the idea that you've committed a crime, they present the individual and then they name the crime. And that's effectively what their fact finding is. It's bullshit. It's a lot of fluff and a lot of circumstance, but as long as their, documents are signed in the proper order, that's exactly how they get away with it. The trick is that I got my children out in 2019 by bringing it to circuit court.
So you moved jurisdiction.
And I believe that's, yes, it was within the same physical jurisdiction, but I took it out of the family court realm. Exhausted all appeals. Again, the appeals themselves had gone unsigned by the original court-appointed attorneys. And the rabbit hole gets very, very deep when you look into it. You start seeing actors that play different roles depending upon their assigned role for the moment. Mm-hmm. One day they're doing a TPR hearing. The next day they're guiding you through the child removal process. But it's considered adequate defense of the state's eyes because they're available. The lack of adequate attorneys it's a crime as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of recourse where people will allow them to practice their law without fear of having their own children affected. And I believe that's what happened to our attorney down there in a law firm called Mickey Hamlet. It's a good law firm out of Charlottesville. But it was very telling when, the gentleman, after we got them out of foster care, COVID hit. And then my very next contact with them was they were very interested in pursuing accountability. But given a little bit more time, all of a sudden, it was a curt no, just absolutely not. And I never did get an answer as to why, because he was very enthusiastic at first and said that you have an open and shut case based upon the removal itself on a bruise that never existed. You have the only medical evidence. They hate you because you accessed their forensic nurse. And all of a sudden it was a no for no logical reason. We're talking about quite possibly a few $1 million of accountability out of 4 children gone for a year, which would have been a windfall for his law firm. But to simply turn it down like that, I believe, indicated to me that there was some backdoor affairs that were going on, and perhaps he himself felt the same, underlying creative coercion, I guess, perhaps, of not pursuing that. Because when a lawyer does not offer you any explanation, but just simply says no, after expressing a lot of enthusiasm, and after all, they're in it to make money. And they're turning down, at least 35 to 50% of whatever you get. It's a very psychologically telling event. When you have all the evidence on your side and you're simply going in there for a one-day event that basically says, okay, you removed him based on what? Here's the medical evidence. They don't have it, open and shut. I mean, it doesn't get a lot more prepared than that for an attorney to present and be the mouthpiece. And up here in Winchester, it's no different. I mean, it's like I have an attorney. He's interesting. He's nice, but he's not allowed to speak very much. And when he speaks, he's ridiculed and mocked. Guardian ad litem involved. Her name is Lorena Smalls. She, puts orders in place that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. She doesn't explain why she would like to have it, but underlying, you can see why she would like to put it in place, and that's to kill employment or to put a monkey wrench in whatever you're doing successfully, which is doing your best to provide for and care for your children who are displaced again because of a loved one's mental illness and substance abuse. And so you are basically vilified for attempting to do the best on both aspects. And so far, there has not been a venue to air that out. And I don't believe there will be until there's a separate court involved. And I think that's the principle of how CPS operates, to be honest. They don't do very well in circuit courts. They don't do very well in Supreme Courts, but they dominate in family courts. And there's something else I believe listeners might want to understand, is that there's different levels of corruption that go along with it. Mm-hmm. In the 2018 case, initially it was myself, my wife, a former judge who was accused of battering his wife and lost his judgeship. So he was an attorney for DSS. And there were about maybe 3 DSS agents and a school counselor. You fast forward 3 months, it was standing room only in those courtrooms. Something was happening. There were people from, I saw badges and I saw name tags with different descriptions of government agencies. So they were starting to pay attention because there was enough drama being raised, both by myself and a few other people, about, well, why are we even here? If there's no injury, then why are we here? Where are my kids? And they can't come out and overrule what the courtroom has already done, but they do come and observe. One form of corruption that the CPS does practice those. They call it court packing. Court packing is when, most of the CPS agents for the day are told to go to court, and you might find 15 or 20 of them in a courtroom. And they are simply there to lay a psychological burden on the judge. That's it. So your closed family court session, they can access anytime. And if they feel like if it's an important motion or ruling, they will tell everybody to take their lunch break inside of the courtroom. And so now the judge gets to stare at 15 or 20 different faces of people that he will see on a daily basis. And that itself is a form of corruption. It's intimidation, basically, coercion. But if given the venue at some point, I can sit down and probably tell you that I learned about at least 7 or 8 different forms of corruption that were witnessed firsthand. And that, again, it goes back to the court-appointed attorneys. On one level, they wear the hat of the defense attorney. On the other level, they are, literally prosecuting TPR hearings.
Mm-hmm.
And when push comes to shove, they all feed from the same trough. So that you have a series of appeals for foster care and child removal, and it's no mistake these individuals these documents. That's probably one of the first classes you have is to reach you, sign what you need. And I have all copies of these things, and they're on the very front of these binders that are handed to me after the court case as a form of corruption by the attorney that we had. There were judicial complaints put in place. There were also bar complaints put in place on these attorneys. Not much ever came out of it. Matter of fact, I had one of those attorneys that read my wife chase me around the court, sign that document. Trying to stall me. Basically at the front door, why are you here? It's none of your business. I don't even.
Yeah.
And at the stairs, the man physically followed me around, pestering me and badgering me, because that was the final day I knew it. Court clerk to finally let him off, leave her witnessing that he. So it's not a closed thing. It's not like a one-off thing here. It's a
yeah.
And the only rest they see 18. Now you preserved anything from that time period from when they were removed. They can now sue on civil rights violations at the age of 18. And problems is finding attorneys that will handle this, and handle it adequately. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of immunity these people will lose if the correct attorneys got involved.
Mm-hmm.
Now that literally a contradictory statement, meaning like that there's safe plan wasn't one in I have the address, I have everything to prove it. But that is the mechanism they want to use to put protective orders in place. It doesn't make any sense to me. And quite honestly, in a nutshell, and I don't want to take the whole, show here, but I mean, it literally
No, it's your
is
platform
if
right now, brother.
in isolation. It just seems like they work in isolation. They don't do well with the spotlight. They circle the wagons anytime you question them. But each individual story is an isolated story. And if it was not isolated, I don't think that they would get away with half of what they do. I don't really things were broadcast and things were put on different news channels and different radio stations, or in any kind of venue, really. But I don't want to use a simplistic term like roaches, but basically they don't like the spotlight in that regards. They like this mentality of the thin blue line, thin red line, whatever.
Right.
That it's them against everybody else. It's a very, very, very narcissistic way of viewing things.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a system-wide approach. And the only way to get into that and to defeat that, I believe, without going outside the boundaries of law, would literally be to shine a spotlight everywhere they go. Their documents, they don't mean a whole lot. They really don't. If you look at the documents, you'll find dates wrong, ages wrong,
Mm-hmm.
children's names wrong. And every facet of that, if put forth in the correct avenue and courtroom, has meaning. Meaning, like, if they misspell your child's name, well, sorry, they have the wrong child.
Right.
If they misspell, any kind of context, it's just sloppy work, which in a, realistic approach, if you're that sloppy in your grammar, if you're that sloppy in your legal proceeding, what else are you doing? But again, it's the isolation that they thrive on. And a really interesting thing here that I'm currently dealing with is that my son, who's on the spectrum, cut his mother off 2.5 years ago for lack of proper mental health and substance abuse. He's 14 years old now. So he's at the age now he can speak for himself if he wants to have interaction with his mother and what terms they might be. For him, it's very simple. He wants her sober. That's it. That's all he says.
Mm-hmm.
But yet somehow the family court, a guardian ad litem, DSS, nobody can seem to figure out that he is at an age of majority that can come up with his own terms. And so now there's court orders in place to force me to encourage him to interact with his abuser. That if I don't encourage it, then I'm again liable for potentially going to jail. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
His mother was convicted of beating him in court on July 4th of 2024. She attacked him. And within a month and a half, they wanted to send him back home to her. And I had to speak up and say, it's really kind of up to him. He went back home for a few days, saw nothing had changed, and ended up back at my house. Just showed up one day at the door. I didn't even ask him how he got there. And he's been there ever since. So my question is, again, is at what point does a child have the right to say, I'm just not comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And at what point and what duty does the court have to acknowledge that without trying to coerce a parent who's simply trying to navigate what the child's boundaries are? It's kind of like me saying, I don't really have a dog in that part of the fight. I'm just simply stuck in the middle. Every time they come to me, I just politely say, why don't you go to him? Hear it from his own words, his own mouth, his own thoughts. And then when he speaks, I'm accused of parental alienation. But at the same time, I don't even allow the children to speak disparagingly about their mother. We just stick to the facts. Hey, you've got a mother, your mother loves you. But on the flip side, there's something else steering the ship, and that's called mental health and substance abuse relating to that. And sometimes that just takes control of it. That's not parental alienation, I feel. That's truth.
Right.
And it's age appropriate. It's a very simplistic way to say that, there's a problem, and this problem is so acute that it's kind of, it's steering what this person once was. It doesn't mean she can't come back from it. I would never want to take that away from a child and put a final answer in their mind. But if they formulate their own opinion and say, I simply want her sober, that's a pretty articulate way for a child to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are questions that lawyers, that, you know, it would be great if some stepped up and, you know, paid attention and learned. But they're getting slaughtered in these courts, dude. I mean, just bottom line. And if you don't play the game, you don't feed from the same trough. If you're not part of the same fiefdom, you're on the out. And I think fundamentally that's, you know, really what the root problem basically is. There's the, you know, legal representation should not be somebody appointed to you. You meet them 5 minutes before the hearing, and then you have a state agency sitting there with stacks of paperwork that no one's even willing to go through. And no one's willing to devote the time to do anything. And they just say whatever they feel like and they get what they want. And yet somehow it's supposed to have legal repercussions on the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a, you know, it's a big stretch of cognitive dissonance in a certain aspect, I believe. Because now you have to try and realize that, you know, okay, this is part of reality too. I can see there's a problem, but I have to ignore it. And I have to go about my business on a daily basis. And I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but apparently whatever I'm doing is not good enough for these agents and actors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the crux of it all, I think. But seriously, it's just, you know, I welcome any input from anybody on how to rectify anything here. Because
I did not read the whole email because I know your story.
Right.
But Darren,
Yes, ma'am.
we need to get him in touch with Jess, because I will tell you that I got a message right before we came on that the court in Virginia, I don't want to say the court because I'm not sure, has recognized the person that she helped from the last rally.
Okay.
And I was telling you about that. So I think Jess might be able to help him with some legal paperwork.
Okay. I'll get in touch with her tonight.
Yeah, but he's not on social media, so you'll have to give the phone number to her.
Yeah, if I can get the resources together, I'm happy to meet anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, we're not worried about that.
Okay, Tiffany knows more of what's going on. I mean, and there, you know, one more thing I wanted to mention before I got cut loose here for a second. You know, I've got a 15-year-old that's now in a psych hospital for the next 6 months of her life. And the travesty of all that part right there is in May, this girl, she took me to go shopping for her first dress when she was 7 years old. And everything changed on June 11th. Her mom went to jail and everything just fucking changed.
Man.
And now she can't handle it no more. And, you know, I'm sorry, I get kind of choked up about it, but it's like this. The kids already lived through 2 cycles of this. You know, when the mom moved across town in 2023, she stayed with me. And she stayed with me because she had already gone through these episodes of bipolar things that would happen primarily in the spring. And it was the mom attacking her. It was, you know, the mom basically locking herself in her bedroom and leaving this 6-year-old child to tend to her siblings, to feed them, to change diapers, to, you know. And it was just so self-absorbed. And the child elected to stay with the dad, me. And that was after the child attacked me for a good 2-month period under the mom's watch before the mom was TDO'd in August of 2022. And she finally sat down and apologized to me and said that was basically because, you know, the mother would tell her stories like, dad has a secret girlfriend. He's got an apartment for her or something. That's why there's no money. There's no money because I paid the rent. I paid all utilities. I paid a car note. I paid all insurance. I bought 85% of the food in the home. And I was content. So there wasn't a lot of play money. You know, mom used her money for SSI money for herself. So to concoct a story like that and tell people this, it doesn't make any sense. But the child's already lived through 2 of these cycles where, you know, the mother messes up, and all of a sudden, right behind them comes the DSS people. And pretty soon, within a month or so, there's no more employment for dad. And then it's waited home for 4 months straight or so, just to, you know, have these same children sent back to the mom. And then we rebuild again. And this keeps on happening. And this year, she finally couldn't hack it anymore. They showed up and threatened her with, you know, you go to your mom's house or you go to foster care. And then the very next night, it was, you're going to foster care if your father doesn't sign these papers. And then within a couple of days, she presents herself to a school counselor, you know, and I'm just off to the hospital, which she had announced to the police officer that night. That's where she was going if they sent her to foster care. And it's just, I don't get it. You know, these people are bullies. You know, these are kids that have already been stolen before based upon a mark that didn't exist. And yet that's their first go-to every time is their method of execution. So again, I begin to start feeling as if it's more of a personal vendetta. I kind of feel like, you know, hey, man, these guys can check through documents and they already understand very well that there's a cycle that goes on with my wife. They already understands that she will keep on with the substance abuse. She will have a chemical imbalance. It will go up. We're entering that season soon. So my question becomes now, what happens to the 4 little girls they sent back home with her? Because again, you know, you don't go homeless under DSS's watch if they don't want it to happen. So by law, they have to go to the father. But if the father doesn't have a stable home, then they go to foster care. And, you know, it's 4 little girls and they're worth over $1 million, you know, as far as adoption nonsense goes. And that's also something the guardian ad litem announced back in 2022. She was angry. She said, I'm not sure how the father got them out of foster care, but they need to go back. The mother's unfit and the father's next. You know, so it's kind of getting to the point now where I question the ability of all of it. You know, it's like, what's real about this and what's not? What is this bunch of characters doing? What are they about? Because I have not seen 1 ounce of family preservation. I have not seen 1 ounce of, you know, even assisting anything before it breaks. Meaning they will wait until it breaks, then they will threaten the child, then they will fix it. I don't think this is what it was set up for.
Nope.
And I think, you know, I think of places like in the third world and growing up and reading history and stuff, and you hear about things like this. And this definitively goes back to, you know, organizations that have existed in history, like the Bolsheviks. They had the Cheka was the first, you know, knock on the door, and we're not sure why you're here, but we're going to turn you in for this, and you may or may not have committed it, but we're going to act like you did. We don't really need any evidence, just how we feel. If we don't have the evidence, we'll write up a document that says we do. And like I wrote an email that basically it seems like, you know, I've seen elements and firsthand what I thought of how bad it can get. This is 5 times worse. This is like an ongoing every year, multiple times a year cycle now, where they just smile at you as you descend into poverty. And then they get upset with the effects of poverty, which goes back to, you know, a lot of times they mistake neglect when it's actually poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And they treat it as neglect. But this is state imposed. There's no other way about it. You know, you don't lose your employment 3 years in a row by the same exact agency, dealing with the same person. And still to this day, there have been no proper treatments for her medical diagnosis. I mean, they cannot be this inept. So, you know, again, I don't want to take all the time, but it's
No,
just,
you're fine. You're fine. But Darren's gonna reach out to another advocate, and then I just had one hit me up, and I'm
okay.
gonna send her your phone number because, again, everybody, he's not on social media.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, because I think that I still want Valerie to see what Valerie can do too, because she's right down smack in the middle of it. But Darren's
As you know, I think it was part of the examples of the laws they were changing for the ombudsman's office.
mm-hmm.
She asked for permission for that, and I granted that.
Yeah, well, let's hope she can help again, especially to find you a good lawyer, even if they have to do it via Zoom. But if not,
Okay.
I got one that just hit me up, and I'm going to send her your phone number. So yes, I'm going to get you in touch with him, and then Darren is going to call another one because she actually just she helped another person here, and
Okay.
they just won here in Virginia too. So we definitely need to get both of them on this, because what Joe isn't saying, and if everybody could send $5 or $10 to him, is that these people have literally got him evicted. He's lost his job. His daughter's in a psych hospital. Mom's got custody of the other 4, and his son is staying with a neighbor. So right now he's down on his luck, and I don't ask people for money, and I'm not asking for myself. I'm asking for a dad. How long have I known you? About 6 years, maybe.
Yeah, we started speaking a couple of
And
years ago because I wanted to focus on the medical aspects of what her diagnosis were. And they allowed it to
right.
something else.
So 6 years, I've never, ever, ever in almost 37 years had a dad put so much into his children. And he's just a good guy. So if anybody can help, please. There, do you still have it? Can you put it up?
That's what I'm looking for right now. If I still have it.
I think it's GI Joe 002 something.
Yeah.
What is it, Joe?
G.I. Joe 002.
He's in Virginia. He's in the same town I'm in.
You know, one ounce of good news though is that my son, who all he's done was basically taking stray kittens for the past couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's his decompression thing. You know, he just.
I'm well aware. Well aware.
He takes the stray kittens. I guess, you know, it's kind of like a chip off the old block in a weird way, but I've always been a dog guy. But when we moved here, it was just a whole area of strays, and so that became kind of his thing.
Yeah.
but he recently gave them up for adoption, and it took me a few weeks to, convince him it was okay. But he did go with me and give them over to the fosters and stuff like that. And that was a big step for him. I think that was the last ounce of everything was normal for the moment.
Did you get to keep one of them at least?
No, but neighbor lady does have 2 other cats, and he plays with them now and stuff, but it's not the same. And even today he was asking about them. So, I stay in touch with the lady who did the thing for his cat, which is like a 16-year-old cat. Some lady passed away years ago and gave it to me. We hope to get it back when we get a place, hopefully within a month or so. That's okay. Life happens. But he's a kid. And I don't like people talking bad about, good people. But the guardian light of me describes him as somebody who just, he doesn't like me for some reason. And I just ponder my head, why would he like you? All you do is keep on throwing, obstacles in these 2 children's way and try and force them to interact. I don't stop them. They know where their mother lives. They know how to contact her. But like I've explained to the DSS people, it's a little bit weird that you guys want to force this, but yet the mother shows up at my home. Hi. But then you're wondering why he does not want to go live there. It's very simple. If you put the kids first, perhaps all that will go by the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
But it sort of puts me in the middle again. It's like I keep on having to tell them it's not my fight. It's, they have their own conclusions, and they're welcome to have their own opinions and their own feelings on the matter. Who am I to say that they can't? June, I think it was June 10th, the mother came to the home while I was at work, and she was beating on the windows and doors and scared my daughter to death. She calls up, says someone's breaking into the home. I tell her to call the police, and she ends up looking outside, jumps up a window and looks out, and it's her mom, coked out of her mind. And my only response was, okay, if she leaves, that's good. If not, call the police. And then when I get home, I sat them both down and talked to them and said, hey, look, there is one person we possibly can go talk to that can prevent this, because you guys need at least a space to enjoy your time, meaning away from this nonsense, away from the drama. And it took the magistrate, told him that I was not involved that day. I work, my children would like to talk to you, and I walked outside and smoked a cigarette. And he came out and thanked me. And I asked him for what? And he said, because when he was growing up, he had a parent that had a problem. The other parent never stuck up for him. And it was humble. That to me was just sort of second nature. Put a boundary up in between something if it's a negative thing. It doesn't mean you don't love that person. It just means that whatever craziness is going on with them at the moment, there needs to be a boundary. And now there is no boundary. There's just, again, state officials that want to force interaction, and they hear the words and simply say, I've had enough. I just want to be left alone, or I don't want CPS people at my home every day babysitting me. I don't want to be threatened anymore because every year you guys cost my father his job. I don't get it. If it was a one-time event, I would say, okay, fine, that's collateral, but it's the same MO each time.
So I got to go put the littles to bed. I'm going to get you in touch with the advocate that just hit me up. So look for them to be calling you soon. And then Darren, you got Darren's number.
I'm on it right now.
Yeah. And Darren is going to get in touch with the other one. And then let's see what Valerie does here.
You guys are wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're such a good guy.
We can do for you, man. We'll do whatever we can do for you, man.
Thank you very much. I just want it all normal. That's all.
Right? You just want your life back.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate way of putting it. Yeah.
Just want your life back, man.
But like I said, if they would like to incarcerate me for going to jail, then or going to work, that's fine. I mean, that's just is what it is. But
Well,
I've never heard of another event like that. So
yeah, no, neither am I.
We're going to get people start working on this now. I'm
Yep.
sure one of them is going to call you in about 10 minutes, and she's a night owl.
okay, perfect. I definitely will be up here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, Joe. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, you guys have a safe one. Okay, bye.
Be safe.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Let's just pray it never happens to you. You knock on the door, you freeze in peril.
I feel bad for having my house
There's
burned.
nothing available. Panic, you scream, you run in circles. You knock on the door over. You look outside, the car
Please, everybody.
the police on the yard waiting
Yes,
in
that's
limbo.
it.
Your life is changing so
Help
fast.
him out.
Looking out
He needs
the
help.
window. In just a moment, things will turn bad. Prepare for the next part, it's real sad. Nothing turns out. They say hello, sir. We need your daughter. I tell them no. They say you wanna give her to us now. I tell them no way, go away, never come back. They answer with force and pin you down. They search all the rooms and look around. They find your baby girl. They tell me we got her. Now your family is torn apart, pleading your innocence from the start. Nobody listens, nobody cares. All you're left with is empty stairs. The house is empty, no love to be felt. They grabbed your baby, it's a feeling you never felt. You fight so hard to have her return. All they do is torture you, are feeling like burn. You do what they say, answer the question. They just keep telling you that you need lessons. You're not worthy of being a father. We don't want you to see your daughter. We don't know what you have done, but we'll say you're guilty. This has begun. We are taking your heart, your soul. You'll be alone now as you grow old. You either away and die. No one will be there to cry. All by yourself, you can't do a thing. No one wants you around. No one believes you did nothing wrong. You gave your best fight. There was nothing you could do. I'll always remember the lonely December. You took my heart out for nothing. There was no reason for what was done. No one listened, not one. As I lay dying on this bed, my visions are you running through my head. I'm sorry for nothing. I didn't do enough. I thought about you always. I didn't do enough. One day I'll be with you again, living in a world that you are in. Maybe that time I'll do it right. I'll be able to say goodnight. But for now, this life is over. There will be no more pain. I won't miss you in shame. I don't have to play this game. The unfair life that I was living, it's no memory. Hope you can be forgiven. I had it all once, they took it all away. So good night, sweet princess, pleasant dreams.
We know it's all about the money, we know they lie. we know this is corruption. Does CPS know what they are doing to the children?